Hi, Leanne. Thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited to have a conversation with you. And so we have a topic which is like toxic relationship. And also you have gone through your toxic relationship. We'd love to know more about the journey as well. So before that, I'd love to know more about like your business journey as well. Like how did you come up with like an idea of like being a coach or helping other people? Is it through like your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent the last 21 years in recruitment. I fell into recruitment when I was 19, and it just got to a point where I was wanting something more. Like when you've done the same thing for 21 years, it's like, well, what's next? I've built a recruitment business that's really successful, but how can I add more value?
Mm,
So I ended up joining Mind Valley, which is like an online application. It's super cool. And I only joined it for some of the like they call them quests. So there's like manifestation quests on there. There's quests about helping you in day-to-day life and business. And I saw it flash up and it was like be a coach consultant. And I was like, if there was ever a time that I was going to be a coach, the universe is telling me, like, here's a course, you've got the finances, jump
yeah.
on board. So I started doing the training maybe like 3 months ago. It's pretty intense. It's really cool for me because I'm super dyslexic. So it's very interactive. There's a lot of videos online. I don't really have to do much in the way of assignments. But I really enjoy the training and there's a lot of synergies in terms of recruitment and the business coaching, but also as well, my kind of purpose out of the last couple of years, I really want to be able to help women in business too. So it's not the kind of male species that I am kind of leaning or gravitating towards. It's women that are stuck in their lives. And I know so many people now that have got their own business or starting their own
Yeah.
business. So I feel like it's really aligned in terms of where I am now and where I want to be.
Interesting. So, of course, like you come from a different kind of background to starting your own business from employment to like employer, right? So,
Hmm.
and obviously, our topic is not related to like your business journey. Is most about like a toxic relationship where we're gonna go about. So, obviously, before that, go through that topic, I'd love to know more about your relationship with the toxic relationship. So you mentioned like over 25 years, like you've gone through, is it with your partner or like your family members?
Oh my gosh, it's family members, it's boyfriends, it's friends, like all of the above. So I'll take it right back to where I understand all this started. Um, my home was not a very happy home.
Mm,
I grew up with a dad that had substance abuse problems. I grew up in a family that was very abusive mentally, a lot of screaming, a lot of shouting, and a dad that was very absent. He worked away quite a lot, you know? And the thing to kind of really like focus on with here is I'm 40 years old. Back then, it was a different time.
yeah,
Men went out to work, they went out to provide. And for a long time, I was like, my dad wasn't there. And I really held on to this like victim mindset of my dad did this to me, my mum did this to me, and they were very wrapped up in themselves. I would quite consider myself now very conscious, and my mum and dad are very unconscious. But for a long time, I blamed a lot of things that went on in my childhood for my mum and my dad. But the reality was that they were doing the best they could with what they had. They both worked full time. I had a really close relationship with my nan, who was my dad's mum. Sorry, my dad's mum.
mm,
And we had a beautiful relationship because she was present. She didn't work. She was like one of the sole people that cared for me. And we just had this beautiful relationship. I felt she was more of a mum to me than my own mum, but at the same time, my mum and dad worked incredibly hard to give us a life, to put a roof over our heads, to give us
yeah,
food. And that's something that I can appreciate now, but I didn't for a very long time. And how that kind of manifested into my teenage years, we were never taught to process emotions when we were younger. We were never taught to be seen, be heard, be loved, and to deal with difficult situations. We were just kind of left to get on with it, like a lot of people my age were. You know, there's a lot to be said about what's coming out of the last 5 years in terms of spirituality and people awakening and people now understanding how to process emotions, but we were never taught that back then. So how this manifested for me was falling into a trap of substance abuse for 25 years. I took a lot of cocaine, a lot of ecstasy. I drank very heavily. I smoked. But I was very much into the 90s rave scene in the UK. So there was a lot of people doing similar things. And it was easy for you to jump on that bandwagon of
Yeah.
just letting your hair down on a weekend. But that kind of manifested into more than just a weekend. It kind of developed into years and years and years of substance abuse. And this led me to make a lot of bad decisions when it came to guys. So I never knew about inner child work back then. And my inner child was just craving breadcrumbs of attention because that's all I had seen
Mm.
my mum and dad show each other love when I was younger. So I was just kind of replicating what I'd seen, not knowing that I actually deserved a lot more than that. So for a long time, I attracted guys who were very similar to my dad, very absent. They all had substance abuse problems. They all gave me breadcrumbs of attention, which I lapped up, thinking that that was what love was. And that was a cycle that rinsed and repeated for a good 25 years of my life. So probably the ages of 13, 14 to just a couple of years ago. And it got to the last relationship I left that guy in March 2022, but I'd kind of checked out a good 6 months before that relationship ended. Took me a long time to process what was going on. He had 3 children, still has 3 children. So that made the relationship more difficult to exit because I'd created a relationship with those kids. But it got to a point, it was a choice point, it was a fork in the road that was like, you can either carry on, this is going to be your life, or you can make a massive change and really start putting yourself first for the first time in your life. That was one of the most difficult decisions that I've ever had to make. And I've completely transformed my life in the last couple of years. So, no more substance abuse. I don't drink anymore. And it even goes back to like the friends that I had as well. So, I really
Yeah.
have been selective in terms of the people that I have in my life now. And I've had quite a few best friends that I don't associate with anymore because now I've done this inner work. I'm
Mm.
not saying I've got to that level where I've completed self-development. You never do really. It's an ongoing
Yeah, it's
game.
all a growing process, isn't it?
Yeah, but now I've kind of really poured love into myself for the last couple of years, and I've made a commitment to not dating anyone until I feel in a position where I've poured enough love into myself. So I've got rid of any relationships that weren't serving me from friendship perspective. I'm not going to date anyone for the foreseeable future because I've never dated myself. I've never
Mm.
had that opportunity. So to be able to do things that I enjoy doing, to do things selfishly, to just really do stuff that sets my soul on fire instead of everybody else's is a the best gift that I could have ever given to myself.
So how
Yeah,
did
that
it
kind of,
affected you with the emotional and mental health with that? Like in a toxic relationship for 25 years? Like,
oh my gosh.
how do you see like a world differently compared to right now and before?
It's funny, I've just done a post on this on LinkedIn earlier on. So I was at rock bottom for quite a long time, and the substance abuse was the thing that was kind of pulling me up as a temporary fix. You know, it
Mm.
was masking a really big problem. And I guess this is why I stayed in these cycles of substance abuse for such a long time, because it was just making me feel something that I was trying to really navigate away from. And I
Right.
feel like the last couple of years have been the hardest because I've really had to unpack everything and put it back together and again in a way that makes sense. But I really had to go as deep as I could to really feel the stuff that was going on, to rewrite the narrative, to rewrite the script. You know, there's a lot of stories about self-worth in there, like I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough for this,
Yeah.
and this. I've had to do a lot of work in terms of I am good enough, but I can't carry on doing these if I want to kind of move myself in a different direction. So emotionally, I was very unstable for a long, long, long time, and I made a lot of bad choices. Whereas now I can kind of look at things from an outside perspective, and I can really
Mm.
take my time when it comes to making.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a, obviously the toxic relationship obviously work on the your relationship. whereas the mental and well-being is not there where you are. Like always like someone is like holding you is like with some kind of rope, and they're like navigating your life like you're in control of it. And that's like uncertain moment, like you don't know where it's leading to, how you gonna get out of it, and there is always a fear to it. I know so many friends and family members, they are in them kind of relationship with their family members, or sometimes it's like most of the time their partners, and they got the fear. Like one of my cousin I know, and she's in a bad relationship, a really really abusive one, with physically, mentally, and everything. But she wouldn't leave the person because she don't know like where she's gonna be end of it. And even though being in the UK, like it's not like a third world country, even though in the UK, like the uncertainty is like no allowing her to get out of that. So what did you do differently in order to like get out of kind of relationship, and you realize like I need to get out of it, I need some help, or like inner self work you mentioned, how they all started?
Yeah, so there's a phrase that keeps like coming back around, and it's like when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, like over the last the end of that relationship, I was following people on Instagram who were very much into self-development, and there were a couple of like online courses that I paid for. So towards the end of that relationship, like he was sat downstairs watching TV, I was upstairs doing my own thing. We led very separate lives, but it was the catalyst that I needed to just really knuckle down and start exploring these online courses. And a lot of it was about self-love and self-worth. And I made the decision to move to a different town, to have a completely different start, which was very distressing to a point because I've got a super big dog. And in the
Yeah.
UK, it's really difficult to rent a house with a dog. So we bounced around a few houses for maybe 3 or 4 weeks until I found this home. But then I really started to look into self-development a lot further. And there were two particular mentors that I invested in that gave me a massive online portal of all these different programs that I just really started investing into. And, I'm single, I don't have kids, I've got a lot of time on my hands. So
Mm.
I really made the commitment to spend time digging deep into everything. I made it my life's work for the last couple of years, and I appreciate people don't necessarily have that amount of time. But self-development and turning your life around is incredibly hard, and it does take that time and nurturing. And I think one of the things that I probably would change if I had to go back would be the integration. I
Yeah.
literally went hell for leather with all these different courses, and I ripped myself open for a good years. But what I feel like is really important for me to give people to take away is just to integrate the work that you do, let it process, let it start to form new habits and neural pathways in your brain. Because I was like a magpie. I was like, give me that course, give me that course. I spent a lot of money on self-development, a hell
Yeah.
of a lot of money. Um,
It's worth
but I
it though,
probably,
isn't it? Like it's end of the day, like it helped you like where you are right now, and people don't understand that. Like you need to invest in. It's not like expense. It's about like if you not don't exist, if your mind body is not there to do certain things, like probably you enjoy a lot. What's the point of the money you earn? What's the point of the family you live in, or like you go in a relationship because you're not happy? You cannot spread the happiness to anyone else, and we need to understand that. That's why. Yeah, that's the way to go. So what would be like your number one advice if someone is going through the toxic relationship, want to get out, or like they don't know what to do with it, like confused or like anxious, scared, like what next step going to be? Because in your case, it wasn't easy, like you said, like needed to move out the house, you couldn't find a house. The journey is not easy. Not many people gonna be like get stuck, like they have to move back in with the parents. It's not always easy get rented in the UK or US nowadays. You need a guarantor, things and different things. You're
yeah.
starting over, right? Probably you're in the 50s, probably you're 45 and already have kids and children. With your case, you are single, much easier compared to someone who is like a three, four kids and they have a, like a partner or things like that. So what will be your number one advice for them, like you wanna make the move?
I mean, for people that have kids and dependents, that would be incredibly difficult for me to answer. But for myself, the number one thing for me was to really kind of start to write a list of what was working and what wasn't. And the list of what wasn't working was incredibly longer than the list of what was working.
Mm,
And I started to really dig deep into journaling. Like, what do I want my life to look like? if there was no time restraints, if there was no money restraints, if I was given a magic wand to create the perfect life, what would that life look like? And to really start to romanticize where I am versus where I want to be. Now we've got so much access to free educational stuff, especially on stuff like Spotify, YouTube. We've got so many podcasts that we can start to listen to. And
Yeah.
I feel like pick maybe 2 or 3 people that inspire you that have been in, bear with me. Oh, God, horrible tickle. That have been in similar situations. Look at the steps that they've taken. And then it's not a case of kind of copying somebody else's life, but you'll use the tools that they've used themselves to help you and create a toolbox of all kinds of stuff. So my kind of go-to habits were meditation, were breath work, were journaling, were going for a walk with my dog. There were things that really helped my mental health. And this is kind of where the substance abuse started to fall away because it was really distracting me. It wasn't putting me in the right situation. So I've kind of slowly removed all distractions so that I can really focus on where I want to go. Like the journey that I've taken isn't for the light-hearted, and it's been one of the most challenging things that I've ever done. But it's been little steps every single day to get me to where I
Yeah.
want to be. I feel like if someone really does want to transform their life, the first thing they're gonna feel is very overwhelmed, and I get that 100%. And if they are in a financial situation to be able to afford something like therapy, it's a great start. I've just recently started therapy after maybe a couple of years break, and I actually wish I'd have started it a while ago because I didn't realize how much I actually needed it and how much I missed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you so much for the advice. So, Leanne, we are nearly coming to end of this podcast. It's been a great pleasure having you on the show. Before we go, like, even anyone wants to learn more about yourself, your business, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I mean, I post a lot on LinkedIn, so it's Leanne Makinson. My current business is Hargreaves Recruitment. I don't know what my coaching business is going to be called yet. You can also find me on the Sisterhood Collective. So the Sisterhood Collective is a private Facebook group for women, and it's a safe space where we can share um, anything that they were going through. And I put quite a lot of educational stuff into there as well. I've also got a podcast. I'm going to try and get to the end of this without coughing. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
The podcast is called Women in the Making, Makin, and it's on Spotify. Those are the places that you can find me.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So, I wish you best of luck with your business and the year you have ahead. And thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Leanne today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about her business or about her, so you can reach out to her on the platforms. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.